also want to reach out to more designers and developers in the country. So if you want to join us, we will be going to Baguio on March 25. We will be releasing the registration tomorrow for a MiniFFC Baguio. So you have a road show and then you get to Baguio. Yay! So there. And then if you want us to book your accommodation, if you want to join because of the discount, we have a couple of accredited hotels there if you want to join us in Baguio. So yeah, we're going to bring web architecture and framework, SEO, and design thinking in Baguio. So it's a combination of a talk and a workshop there. And I think I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Kit Valmadrid from PWDO. I'm the current community manager. So if you're messaging us through Facebook, email, so most of the time I'm the one replying to all of you.
Let's intro everyone.
So don't be scared if you want to message us because it's just So yun. Since I already introduced myself, it's also a thing that you also introduce yourself to everyone. So yun. Pero hindi na kayo napapahiya. So say your name and then saan nyo nakilala yung PWDO or
Why do you come here?
why do you come here? So let's start with Iya.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sofia Lucero or Iya from PWDO. I heard PWDO because I'm one of the founders. Anyway, nirename actually namin the naming system of the meetups because we've lost count of how many meetups we've had over the years. The first one was in 2008, October. So it was started because we wanted to have a web design conference, but since we didn't have capital for it yet, so we thought, oh, we'll hold meetups first and then we'll build traction for the annual web design conference. So, and skip to 2017, we're here. So guys, Trish, intro yourself and then what you find out about PWD.
Hi, I'm Trish. I'm the regional marketing head for Z.com. And when I came in, we were already partners with them, and we're very happy actually. And as Z.com, it's really exciting for us to be part of PWDO's events. We've been bumping into each other in different small events, and actually for this year, and we were talking earlier, we really want to support them more. Like before, it started with just a small partnership, but for 2017, we really want to expand the partnership. We really want to tap into freelancers, designers, students, and basically since Z.com, we offer hosting, right? Hosting services, domains. The idea is really want to host great ideas online. So expect more from us. So there, it's a whole spiel, but yeah, Trish.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm also from Z.com. I'm their business dev. So I learned about them because I've been trying to find good partnership last year. So there, I partnered with them last year, and the partnership continues until this year. So,
Sure.
I'm Sherwin. I'm from Indanero, just across the street. I'm doing product with them. So learn through friends.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Dis. I work at Voyager Innovations. I'm a UI designer.
So how did you find PWDO?
I joined hackathon once.
Karita ka to? No.
Yun.
So before we had actually a charity hackathon, we build websites for charity institutions. So I think, I'm not sure, but we're trying to
Bring it back.
maybe this year. So if you want to join, follow us on social media. If you're into hackathons, actually some of our members are joining hackathons and some of them are really excelling on that part.
Hi, I'm Jay. I learned PWDO from WordCamp.
Wow, WordCamp
Which program? 12?
28, 2008, 2010.
Basta naka-t-shirt kasi kayo na, tapos nakilig sa akin.
Oh, sino kaya? Alright. Well, PWDO is not really that famous, even though if it's named like Philippine Web Designers Organization. sometimes, hindi pa namin na-reach yung full potential namin for all the designers and devs. So, ma'am?
Crystal Baldido. Trish invited me actually. So, actually, designer din ako.
Hi, my name is Frank, head of digital media in a local advertising agency, and invited by Trish.
Thanks, Trish.
Ako na ba? Hi, I'm Ruby Meneses, a designer din. In-invite lang ako nung office mate ko. Sa total, tatlong araw ko lang siya nakilala, then yun,
Nice.
niya ako dito.
Hi, I'm Lee, a UX UI designer from Solarium. I actually I have known PWDO since 2014. I just joined their Facebook account, Facebook group. So I'm just
So, in-accept kita sa
I guess-
Because I'm the one accepting and ignoring members.
Nasa kabila.
Sorry, yeah.
Nasa kabila.
And
Holy area.
Exciting.
Hi, I'm Michael Saison,
Sa may
developer,
pinakaliwa.
yung event.
Kung saan po magpasok yung mga application. Holding it. Sa may
I'm
delivery
Luigi
area.
Mabugal. I'm Luigi.
Oo.
Gusto lang namin kasi ma-expand yung knowledge namin dun sa design. Not the developer here, pero gusto namin sana ma-expand sa ibang
Field. Yes.
Hi, I'm Mark Jefferson, and sila kasama ko sila. Yun. Actually, mga back-end kami, pero since ayaw lang na mas stuck kami doon, kaya dito mo front.
Nice.
I'm Nicole. I'm a UI UX designer and I learned about PWDO from
Oh, so you've attended it. 2016.
I'm Jerome Pangilinan, application developer. I've heard about PWDO when I attended DevCon.
Last year also.
Yes.
So ako ba yung nakita mo yun?
Parang
Kasi ako yung nagsalita dun eh. Yeah, we're also teaming up with other tech communities in the country. So there's a group like Tech Leads for DevCon actually established that. So parang they grouped all the tech leads dito sa Philippines into a one Facebook group. Tapos dun kami nag-share ng events. DevCon, may ganito kaming events. So yung mga VR meetups, Mozilla. So dun sila nag-share. So last year, parang actually it's our first time na mag-talk about the community into a conference din talaga. Pero before, na-invite din kami sa like social media day, diba? So yung mga ganun. Pero even though na-invite kami sa mga ganun, hindi naman din namin talaga na-reach yung ibang parts namin. So good thing din na we team up with other communities. And if you're interested, yung membership namin, parang if we're teaming up with other tech communities, we also get discounts to their events. So like, ngayon, UX Hong Kong, we also have discount tickets for UX Hong Kong if you want to join them. So yeah.
I'm Wilbur Jano, designer. I saw the post in Facebook.
Facebook group.
Facebook, Philippine UI UX designers and friends.
Thank you.
I'm Sarah Javier. I'm a UI UX designer and he also encouraged me to attend this event. We were office mates, so it's my first time to
Attend our
meetup.
Hi, I'm Jibel Valencia. I came here because of our startup company.
I'm Leon Valencia. I was invited by my spouse. I'm a software developer.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I heard about this through word of mouth. My two friends showed me the poster for your event. But funny thing is the two of them aren't here. They're on the way.
I was about to ask if we're there right now.
Yeah, they're on the way. So.
Joseph Montalvo, software developer, and this event appeared in sa Facebook newsfeed. So click register.
It's free.
No, free.
Hi, I'm Kevin Bernardo, programmer at Asia Systems Group. Thomas invited me here. Unfortunately, he's not here.
At least you're here.
So I'm Keith. I'm a designer. I heard it from the Facebook group as well.
I'm Gene Enrique Antelado. I'm a designer from PWC SDC Manila. And I was invited by my friend.
I'm Darwin, front-end developer. Nakita ko yung post sa Facebook, yung friend ko nag-going, kaso wala rin siya.
Where are your friends?
Narinig ko yun sa dev group.
I wonder if these are the same friends. Like they just invite people and they're like, yeah,
Tapos sila yung wala.
well,
I'm Chloe. I am not a designer or developer. I'm April's fiance, and I'm here for support.
I'm April's mom. My name is Rita. We are here to support you.
I'm April's dad. I would like to congratulate all of you. I'm pretty sure a few more years, Philippine Web Designer will be on top. So, guys, take the Philippines on top.
Congratulations. Thankful din kami doon sa mga friends na nawala dito.
For spreading the
Diba sa
word.
Facebook, mag-click ka lang na interested, you will go on top of the feed. So, yay! Thank you there, friends!
Ito ko naman ito, hindi na
We all know that designers and developers are somewhat introverts. So, and one of which are our new members. So, we'd like to welcome our new members to the group. So, we started establishing our membership last year actually. So, we have Sheen, Anger, Zish, Virm, Ben, Jai, and Franz. So, they're helping us to organize their annual event this year. They're actually my former students in USD. So, there. And before we start with April's talk, I know she will introduce herself more later. We would like to have a small introduction from our venue sponsor. I said my introduction. more of pangalan and z.com if you want to say something.
Okay, sige. I'll make it quick, don't worry, April.
That's okay.
So, z.com, you're probably not familiar because we just launched here in the Philippines last December 21. And our goal is really to provide Filipinos with affordable and accessible foundation for your websites, online presence. So we provide domains, like really the cheapest you could find. I know you could find like quote-unquote cheaper, but they have lots of hidden fees, so we don't. Domain hosting, WordPress hosting, cloud, SSL for security for your websites. Yes, and WordPress hosting also. And so that's it. And again, just expect more from our partnership with PWDO, and we hope to see you more. And later on, we'll be providing
domain vouchers.
Yeah, domain vouchers. In case you want to start your own blog or your own online presence, we're giving that away. And also 50% 50% off for web hosting for a year, if you're interested to have your own site. So there, we'll have that later after the talk.
Actually, for the Filipino community, if you check on their site, it's pretty conservative, the price, aside from going to other hosting providers. I'm promoting more.
Yes,
per month. So yeah, I've actually checked on their business model. They have like monthly and have 6 months and then annual 24 months.
Yes.
See, I checked that.
Oh, yeah. One crucial thing I forgot, we're new, but our mother company is actually from Japan's number one internet group, GMO Internet Group. They've been there for 20 years, 95% market share. So they brought Z.com as their global brand because they want to expand to different countries. So there. Actually, their business model somehow fits us. Hindi yung katulad ng parang you pay for a year already, for 3 years. So if you want to try it first, they have their like monthly win. So yeah. And then if you want to win some of their stuff like domain and hosting,
tag as MiniFFC or use the hashtag MiniFFC and then pangalan for the win, FTW. So hashtag MiniFFC and then hashtag pangalan FTW. And then we'll pick posts later. So yeah, you get
With
to
photo.
Yeah, yeah. So
Take
make
a
sure,
snap.
make
Take a
sure
snap.
it's a public post para makita namin. So preferably Twitter or
Facebook and Twitter.
So yeah. And then I guess you can start.
I guess that's what we're here for, yeah, for sure.
May mga spaces.
All right, so thank you everybody for being here today. It's such an honor to be the first speaker of the MiniFFC 2017. Today we're going to talk about good versus great, understated UX details. So before I start, my parents are here, as you have seen, and my fiance is here as well. So to quote my favorite pageant contestant, sorry Pia, I don't feel any pressure right now. And to introduce myself, I'm April Damaso. I'm a UX UI designer from Vancouver, British Columbia. My friends and family would consider me an app snob. So if I see really bad UX or bad kerning on a website, I often just get out of there and don't even use it. I graduated from Capilano University, Vancouver, British Columbia, for their interactive design program back in 2012. And since then, I've been involved with multiple startups. I've created Mixtape FM, which started out as a passion project. And I find that I like to gravitate more towards startups because everybody's kind of on an equal base, and there's more room for our unique ideas. I'm very passionate about technology, so if anybody here has heard about Kickstarter.com, I am an addict, so don't use it. I have so many things coming in the mail, and my fiance hates me for it. But what she doesn't know is there's more things coming back when I get to Vancouver. So. I'm an absolute music nerd. I am one of those people who like to deconstruct every single lyric, and oh, this probably meant this, and this song reminds me of my dad, and we used to do this and that. So that's actually why I set out to make Mixtape FM. I felt like Spotify and other music streaming services didn't really provide any user experience or music experience for a music lover like myself. I found they just could press play or see what activity or your friends are up to, but I really wanted to bring back the elements of buying an album, sitting around, listening to it, and discussing it with friends. So that's why that was made, and if anybody wants to talk about music later, I'm always open to hear some more new stuff. So now that you guys know my biography, let's talk about what we're actually going to learn today. Because I know you guys didn't come here to actually meet me. You guys came here to learn. So what we're going to learn today is how to turn any frustrated user, or if you have a new product, I think you mentioned that you have a startup. If you have a new product, how any tips and techniques will help create a better experience and result in loyal users. So you might see a little bit later on here, I'm going to talk about a few brands and products that I'm really loyal to. And it's just because of the little UX details that they have that I love to talk about, which is obviously why I'm here. So hopefully anything that I talk about today, people will talk about their loyalty for your products a little bit later down the road. There's always that person who has to have all Apple products, or has to have the latest Samsung, and that's the sort of user that we want to attract with our products. So let's get started. So let's say we have just downloaded the latest medical app. We take medication every day. Our friends have told us that this is a really great one. You have to try it. It's got a really nice minimal design. And so you go through the hassle of downloading it on the Google Play Store or on the App Store. And this is the first screen that you see once you sign up. Now, as soon as I look at this screen, I'm thinking, what's going on here? There's definitely something that's missing. My next thought is this still loading? And because I'm dedicated to trying out this product, since my friends all recommended it, I give it a little bit of time, I let it load. So I go grab a drink of water, I come back to my phone, and it's still like this. My next thought is, did my Wi-Fi cut out? I go to check my router, everything's working fine. I check my apps, Facebook is working great, my pictures are loading on Instagram, so it's definitely not a problem with connecting to my device. And then the next thought is probably the worst one. Is this a bug? And I'm sure that you developers know that this is the worst thing, because as soon as you get multiple users messaging customer service talking about this bug that isn't really a bug, that makes them really frustrated, and then you have a lot of people asking you and interrupting you while you're working. So how do we fix this issue? It's pretty simple, actually. We're just going to have an empty state message. So we have a nice little graphic here. It welcomes us, and it tells us exactly why there's nothing on the screen. Turns out I don't have any medications scheduled for today, which is obvious. This is my first time trying this app. And then it has a nice little see you tomorrow. Now what's great about see you tomorrow is it's almost like a verbal call to action for me to come back to the app and check tomorrow. Now obviously, since this is my first time opening this app, I have to plug in my medication schedule. But it lets me know that they're being nice enough and I have more loyalty to come back tomorrow once I've plugged in my medications. So what do empty state messages do? Well, in this example for Google Cast, this is probably one of the better empty state messages I've seen. So what it does is it avoids confusion. If there was no empty state message here, if it was blank like the other screens you saw before, my first thought would be, why aren't my connected devices showing? What it also does is it explains the lack of content. So the reason why none of my connected devices are showing is because I'm actually not connected to the internet. And lastly, it provides direction. So there's a call to action button here to turn on Wi-Fi. And what's great about that is you don't actually have to exit the app, go into your settings, and turn on your Wi-Fi, and go back to the app. Instead, I'm still encompassed in the user experience. I'm still part of this app. And what Google does is they almost serve me on a platter what I need to do. So they're acting like they're serving me, they care about what I want. Spotify does a really good job of empty state messages as well. They feed the ego of the user. And as I was saying, I'm a big music fan, so if you try to check out the lyrics of a song that you're listening to and they don't have it yet on Music X Match, or Music's Match, they'll say that your music taste is better than theirs because they don't have it in their database, and they'll include a call to action to add lyrics. And what's great about that call to action is not only am I engaging with the application, I'm filling in user data so that they don't have to, and I also feel like a sense of pride. Like, you know how when you're commenting and there's always that jerk that's like first, second, I'm first when I'm adding these lyrics, and I feel great about it because there's that sense of pride of, yes, I listen to this song and nobody else does, and I was the first person to ever discover it, and then I've added the lyrics for it. And lastly, with Slack, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it, but I'm definitely a fangirl, and I'll talk about it a little bit more throughout this presentation. They do a really cool thing where if you're searching for an emoticon and nothing shows up in the results, they'll actually have the cry emoticon in the bottom here. So I found that pretty funny. And I also like to point out that I really appreciate that Slack has the search bar for emoticons, because there's so many times where I'm looking specifically for that firework emoticon or that, you know, that service girl that does this. I'm looking for that and have to scan through all the different lists, and it's really hard to figure out which one is which. So I really appreciate that from them. Alright, so now what you see here, unfortunately, is a real error message that I've received before. Error number K42VJ86GKO, or 0. And I don't know if any of you developers can tell me what this means or what the parameters are, but this is not a good message for me to receive if I've spent hours, sorry, not hours, if I've spent minutes, it could be hours if I spend a really long time filling out a form, but if I've spent out several minutes to fill out a form or to buy something online, I don't want to get an error like this and not know why it didn't work. Because I may be Canadian, but I'm definitely not a robot. So you should talk to me like I'm a human. I want to know exactly what the issue is, and I want to know why it isn't working. If the issue was that I couldn't connect to the database right now, then I'll know to come back a little bit later. But for example, if you were to think about it in the real world, my favorite Filipino food is champorado. So let's say there's a champorado stand across the street and it's the best one. And I go over there and I ask for one champorado, and the vendor tells me 3561JK50 whatever. I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna think, what is wrong with this person? And I'm gonna keep asking because I want my champorado. I'm hungry. Gutom na ako. So eventually I'm gonna get frustrated and I'm gonna leave. And that's exactly what your users are gonna do as well when you post really weird error messages like that. And granted, they might help for developers, but maybe you can put that in like the console log or something. I'm definitely not a developer first, so I'm not really sure what the best practices for that are. But in terms of a user-facing interface, you never want to show something like that. So if I wanted my champorado, I say I'd like a champorado, and he replies to me like a human, just like your app should. Because in user experience design, we're studying the psychologies, the behaviors, and the interactions of people and technology. But our main goal is to make it feel like people interacting with people. And that's what you should focus on as well. And for the love of God, please do not mix error messages with success messages. This, no. What you should do is something like this. Now, this is an example of an error 404 message. And for those that don't know, an error 404, I'm looking at you, Mom and Dad, are a page on the internet that doesn't exist, or a page that's missing. So I actually watched Lord of the Rings for the first time like 4 weeks ago, and everybody's been bugging me. I made it through the first one. I only fell asleep twice. But I did make it for this part where Gandalf says, "You shall not pass," because I never understood that. But it explains clearly. I don't have access to this blog because it's for employees only. So again, kind of with the empty state messages, it explains the lack of content, it avoids confusion, and with this button here, it gives you direction. This error 404 is probably my favorite of all time. It is a company, called Mint, which is a financial app company. And for a company that is, financial stuff is not really what I would consider fun. If it is for you guys and you play on your calculators more on your phone, then that's great. But financial stuff isn't really fun, so they found a way to make it fun. They also give you a little bit of insight as to who are the people behind the product, and not just, this is what we do, sorry, or just, the default error 404. I don't know if Justin actually exists. He's not really my type. But Justin at mint.com for those of you who are interested. And what's really important here is they, again, provide direction. So instead of having to hit the back button, you have a few outs where you're still engaging with the app and you're still part of the app, but you don't feel like you're in a fork in the road and you don't know where to go. So the next one is toasts and snack bars. This concept is fairly new to me. I have a client in the States, and he wanted me to learn about Google Material Design because he wanted to work with Polymer. I think that's what the developer language is. So I started learning a little bit more about toasts and snack bars, and this is stuff that I've seen on pages before. But I really like having the verification that an action that I've done has been successful or it hasn't worked. So for example, with a toast, if I decide to make changes to my profile, then it'll say, congratulations, you've changed your profile, or it'll say, sorry, this didn't connect. Sometimes it can be informational as well, like maybe they're gonna have to do maintenance later on, that's where you use sort of stuff like that. And snack bars are kind of like toasts from what I understand, but they also have an interaction on the right-hand side there. So it's gonna sound kind of like duh, but how I remember it is I remember toasts as if I'm giving a toast. So I'm gonna raise my hand and then I'm gonna have it fade away eventually. So I'm gonna, have a message come up, and after a few seconds it's gonna fade away. And with a snack bar, I think of a snack bar. I think, okay, buffet is open, eat, and there's an actionable item there. You're gonna go do something. Heartburn is coming, ignore. That's the sort of stuff that a snack bar would be. Has anybody here heard of a company named Slack before?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm so happy to hear that you have no idea, because I hate email, and Slack has really changed that. So you might be familiar with their super excellent loading messages, and that's one of the first time user experience stuff that I really loved. Kind of like that medical app that I was talking about. When you open it for the first time, what am I going to see? So the first time I open Slack after signing up for an account, I get some really awesome loading messages. Sometimes I'll get stuff like, make sure you stand up today, and that makes me feel like, oh, Slack really cares about me. They're right, like I've been sitting at my desk all day. I should really put some time into standing up every, 45 minutes or so. But one of the things that I really love about their loading messages, besides the fact that they're not just, loading ... or sometimes icons can be good too. Like, for example, Airbnb has icons of different, not necessarily landmarks, but they have like snow globes, and they have a windmill, and it gets you in the mood for traveling. But what Slack does is they actually have a feature where you can create custom loading messages, which I thought was really neat. It gives me a chance to explore, to be creative, and to still interact with their platform. They do have a lot of customizable features, like you can create your own emoticons. So I've definitely spent hours cutting out the faces of my teammates just to make custom emoticons. But again, I'm spending hours making something so that I can put it on Slack. So, if I wanted to do a custom loading message that's like, BRB, April's just fixing the kerning on this website, then I can do that. And my teammates will see it, and we'll still be thinking of our product, and we'll still be using Slack. Or you can just be that really creepy person at the office. Whatever you feel like, there's always that one person. So the custom loading messages are pretty great for that. One thing that I wanted to add into this slide, into this presentation, that I noticed the other day was something that Google products do, and they do really well, and that's little visual indicators. So if I book a flight and it's in the evening, then you get a plane that's in the nighttime. If you have an afternoon flight, then you get a daytime plane. And that's really great for me to know, because obviously I've had to take a flight here, and I'm going to take a few more flights before I go back to Vancouver. But it visually tells me at what time of the day I'm going to travel without having to read this text, as well as, if I'm flying out in the evening, I'm going to know I can sleep on this flight, and by the time I land, I'm going to have my sunglasses ready in my bag. So that's pretty awesome. They also do that for their GPS. We were trying to find the Marriott the other day, and unfortunately, I wish we could say we weren't going in circles for an hour, but we definitely were, and we couldn't for the love of, we couldn't find the exit on the highway. And I noticed after an hour, at 5:59 it was daytime UI, and as soon as it hit 6, it was nighttime UI. So that was my first indicator that we've been driving around in circles for a really long time. Okay, so this is something that I can see pretty often. Now, sometimes you'll have icons in navigation bars, and sometimes they'll make sense, but a lot of the times you just see this. And when I see this, I start thinking I'm gonna have to play Guess That Icon, which is unfortunate because to quote the title of my favorite user experience book by Steve Krug, don't make me think. And that is definitely something you guys should read. He has a first edition and a second edition. But don't make me think. I want to know what that is, and I should be able to recognize that right away. So if we're going to play Guess That Icon, if this was a dance company and they wanted you to sign up for their classes, and all you see is the logo on the top left and these icons on the right. Does anybody have any guesses to what this is? Okay. What about this one? Okay. And this one? What about this one? Yeah, because when I look at this, I think somebody's doing karate, Monopoly guy, Shakira, and parkour. I'm not really sure what's there, but you guys actually did really well. It's jazz, tap, belly, and modern. So the solution here is to add labels or tooltips. And again, this is only when it's necessary, because some icons are self-explanatory, and you really don't need to clutter your UI by labeling some of this stuff. For example, camera, cart, and delete are all real-world things, and they function just like the real-world things. The play button is pretty universally known to play any sort of media, so you don't need to label that either. But if you have icons in a toolbar, for example, and it's a ruler icon, does that ruler show rulers around the page? Does it measure your distance? I'm not entirely sure. And so there's that fear of what happens when I click on this button. Is my chair gonna eject me from the sky and there's an April-sized print on the roof? I have no clue. But you never want to have somebody guess what's gonna happen when you click on something. So in the scenario that you have a toolbar with a ruler, let's say for a map application, when I hover over it, there should be a tooltip that says measures distance or something to that effect. So this one I'm really excited about. Everybody, you are now the proud owner of this product. So this product has been made with the finest materials. It's been sourced from local artisans, and it is 100% crystal. We've tested it out for a year. We've tried making it hold mineral water. We've tried juice. We've tried smoothies, and it's super effective. It's great. And when I give you guys all this product, I know that you guys are going to know how to use this. You're going to fill it up with water, and you're going to drink it, and you're going to love it. And you're going to buy so many of it, and you're going to give it for pasalubong and Christmas and everything like that. But the problem with this is that sometimes this is actually what happens. Because I have made a crucial mistake here in assuming that you guys know exactly how my product is going to work. And I'm going to spend all that time and I'm going to launch it, but really, I have no clue how you're going to use it. So user testing is probably the most underrated thing in companies. And unfortunately, I usually take about 5 large clients per day, I'm really busy, per year. And unfortunately, maybe 1 out of those 5 will be open to user testing. And the other 4 out of 5 will tell me that their main goal is to launch their product. Now, as a designer or as a developer or whatever role that you have, your goal should not be to launch a product, but to make a product for a consumer and to make them love that product. But with the assumptions that we make, we don't know if they're going to love the product. Because we've babied this product for so long, we think, this is so clear, how could they not know this, or how could they not know that? But you really have to consider your target market, because your target market might not actually understand what a hamburger menu is, or they might not know that, this icon does that, for example. So user testing really helps with that sort of thing. And are people familiar with how to do user testing here at all? Okay, so for those that don't, usually what you do is you find people in your target market and you have private sessions, so one-on-one. And there's usually a moderator. They create a moderator script, and that moderator script has a list of tasks. So going back to the water example here, your first task is probably interact with this product. Now notice how I said interact with this product and not pick up the glass, because you don't want to coach them in any way, because that's not actually real data. That is tainted data. You're coaching them and you really don't want to do that because you're not going to get results. Another task might be to drink the water, and then you're going to see how they would drink that water. So as you're conducting this task and the user is going through the tasks, you make sure that the user speaks their mind, you record the session, and usually you have observers in another room, or you can all observe the video after, and you can make your notes. And from those results, you can make any changes as necessary. Usually you want to do this for any major releases, or depending on your budget, you can also do this for any feature by feature sort of thing. And make sure that you also test out on different platforms, so web and mobile or tablet, as well as different software versions and different browser types, because you might catch a few bugs that you might not have found out in your internal team. And this will really help, because if it turns out nobody on iOS who uses Firefox can access your app, guess what? You just isolated a giant group of people. And it's also good in user testing because you get to see how frustrated people get. And one thing that I see quite often is people blame themselves. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't understand that I had to click on this for that. And that's, again, where another problem happens, is you don't want the user to blame themselves for anything that's happening. They should never feel poorly about themselves when using your product. So that's why companies like Slack go the extra mile, and they make you feel better about using their product. All right, so now we're going to talk about the #1 reason that I became a UX designer. It is forms, and I went to India about 2 years ago, and there was this form for the Indian visa that we had to get. And I'm not going to go too into it because I will vent for like an hour, but it was probably the worst form I've ever seen in my life. And I don't like to fill out forms in real life or online, but just the whole experience was really, really poor. So I wanna show you guys just a few ways that we can turn this form, which looks pretty simple, into a more user-friendly form. It looks pretty minimal. It has, a pretty modern design, I guess, but we can make this a little bit better. So we have username, email address, password, and we have a call to action here that says go with an arrow. The first problem I see here is I have no clue what this form is going to do. Is this going to be to sign up for an account, to sign into your account, to verify your account? And the problem here is this call to action right there. So sometimes you'll see forms like this without a title because it's in a modal. I wanted to minimize the design here just so we can have some more real estate, but let's pretend there's no title, and the problem here is the call to action. So let's just make that a little bit clearer. Now we know that we want to create an account, and that's what this does. But now I have the create account button that looks active, and I haven't actually filled anything out yet. So let's just disable that, and that lets me know this is not clickable, and I have to fill this out in order to get this. Just like how you had to check in order to get here, you have to fill out this form to activate that button. Okay, so now I've filled out my username, my email address, and my password. My button here has turned a bright color indicating that it is now active. But if you guys notice anything, the placeholders here have actually disappeared now that I've filled out my form. And I've seen this on a few websites that do have a placeholder instead of a label on top. So what you want to do is you want to animate your placeholder and actually float your labels to the top here. So now I know that these values are connected with a username, email address, and password. So let's try and submit our form. Okay, so now it says username already exists. And I'm not sure if you guys heard earlier, but never mix your error messages with your success messages. That error message was in green, and that should never happen, because if stop signs have shown us anything, green means go, yellow means caution, and red means stop. And this can be applied in the tech world as well. Green means good, yellow is alert, and red means bad. So anytime we have an error message, we definitely want to have it in the appropriate color. Now the exception to red is orange. And this is a technique that I like to use sometimes. I like to use a darker orange instead of a red, because I find that a really traditional red can sometimes be too alarming, and it can be not as user-friendly. So I like to go with something a little bit more on the darker orange, but still looking like a red. Okay, so now here's the proper error message. As you can see, I've also made this bottom, this border bottom here, a nice dark orange or a red, and I've moved my text to the right-hand side. That way the user can scan the right-hand side for any errors that they might have, and it's not chunked together on the left-hand side here, where it's a little bit harder to read. I also want to give bonus points for live validation. This eliminates the need to have to fill out your form, click create account, oh, there's an error. I have to fix it, create account, oh, there's another error. Instead, I should really only press create account one time, and it should tell me if there's an error message right away as soon as I'm done filling out an input. And that eliminates the frustration of the page reloading and having to constantly press this call to action button. So now my form is all filled out. I have a username that doesn't already exist, but I have this password, and it's mixed characters, it's pretty long. I don't know if I've actually typed this in properly. And usually there's a confirm password button, but even then, because the characters here are hidden, I really have no clue what I have there. So one thing that I really like that apps have, and I saw this on Facebook as well, is the show password button. So this lets me be able to check whether or not I've typed something incorrectly. So I'll look over my shoulder, make sure nobody's looking at my password, because I have some super secret things on this account. And I'll show my password, everything looks great. That's the correct password, and I'll hit create account. And we have a nice verification message letting me know that the account has been created. It thanks me for being a team member. And again, it provides direction. So right away I can just click on this and we're good to go. I can be part of the platform and I can start exploring. So that is how you turn that form into something a little bit more user-friendly. But just as general notes, you should also make your labels clickable or tappable, because if you only have the target area as something this small, and this applies to checkboxes as well, it's a little bit harder for some people, especially you have to consider there's users there who might have like a shaky hand, and you have to consider anybody like that. You definitely don't want to discriminate. So having a target area this big is a lot better than having one this big. Another general tip is to visually separate any of your mixed characters. So definitely don't do this where you chunk all of your numbers together. And granted, this is a sequential number, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's pretty easy to read, but generally, unless you're really not lucky, that's not going to be your phone number. So what's better to do, I'm not sure if you guys can see it on the screen, but anything that I've input is darker. Anything that's editable, like this +1, which is the country code, or these brackets and dashes, are grayed out. I've also added a flag here so you can indicate what country you're from, and we'll pre-populate the area the country code there, and there's an extension as well, but those are optional depending on what sort of platform you're creating. But generally, you want to make anything with mixed characters or anything with like a lot of numbers easy to read. That applies to barcodes or serial numbers or anything like that as well. You should also be able to submit your forms with the enter key, because unfortunately not all apps will do that. Because if you're typing out on a form, if you're filling out a form, your hand's already on the keyboard, and all it really is just one yoga pinky stretch to the enter key there, and that's all you need to do, rather than having to scroll down, move your cursor to the button and click on that. Just make it a little bit easier. And finally, if you have a modal, you want to make sure that if you click outside of it, it'll close. I don't want to have to click on Save Changes, especially if I don't want to save any changes. And if you notice, there's also an X on the top corner there. That's something that I still want to add in because that's a pretty universal thing. For example, my parents wouldn't know how to get out of this, but they would know that the X button means to exit something. So it's still good to not isolate your age user base for that, but clicking outside of a modal should bring you back to the content that you were at. All right, and that's everything. I wish I could talk a little bit longer, guys, but I want to thank you for. What? More. Oh, I wish I could. I would love to keep talking about everything, but I really appreciate you guys coming out. I hope some of the things that I talked about today really helped. There's a few links that I'm going to add on the event page that are really, really awesome for any resources. There's this one website that I found the other day, actually, which is pretty similar to the talk I made today. It's called littlebigdetails.com, I think. You guys should definitely check it out. Just little things that you can do to make somebody recognize how hard you've worked for the little details that you put into your app. And yeah, thank you guys so much. So if anybody has any questions or comments, now is the time to do so. I must have really covered everything. That's awesome. That's a good sign, right?
How do you deal with color blindness?
Color blindness. That's actually a really good question, because I noticed something here in the Philippines that you guys do really well that we don't do in Canada. Your walking sign, when it's stationary and it's red, it means don't walk. But as soon as you can walk, it's a moving, like somebody's actually walking. So I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? And it's green, of course, because don't mix your error messages with your success messages. Color blindness is something that I haven't worked with all too often, but I generally try to use more than just colors. I try not to rely on that too much. So anything like shapes can sometimes help, or animations or motion, kind of like the walking guy would be really good. I think just as a general note, everybody should look more into accessibility as well, because you definitely don't want to isolate anybody with either color blindness, or if they're deaf, or if they're blind in general. Those are things that you want to account for, because if you can get the entire blind database of people who use a particular app, and they say, you know, this app is really great for us because it screen reads really well, then guess what? You have a large user base for people that you might not have had on your platform before. But yeah, to answer your question, I'd probably use shapes or motion or anything like that. Cool. All right, well, if anybody has any follow-up questions and they're just too shy to say out loud now, feel free to come up to me afterwards, or I think any of my is my contact information on the page?
Your Twitter.
Twitter, right. I don't think I've used Twitter, except to like vent about reality TV, so you guys will probably notice that. So yeah, you can contact me through Twitter, or I can leave my email address or something. I feel so honored to be able to talk at the first MiniFFC. I hope you guys go to more. It's a really great event, and I guess when I come back, I'll keep in contact with you and see where you guys are at. But thank you guys so much for coming out. It's so nice to have a giant room full of people who care so much about their work and what they do and their products and their users to make themselves better, because everybody can always learn more and more every day, especially because technology changes every day and there's always this new, plug-in or this new mix-in or anything like that. So thank you guys for coming out and making yourselves want to be better for what you do. Yeah.